The bright screens of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station lit up the otherwise dark room. It was just another quiet night shift for Tom Wilson, who sat at his desk sipping his third cup of coffee. The gentle hum of computers and occasional beeping of sensors filled the air, creating the usual peaceful atmosphere he had grown used to over his 15 years of service. That peace was about to change forever. A sharp, unusual sound cut through the quiet room. Tom nearly spilled his coffee as he quickly set it down and rolled his chair toward the main monitoring station. The incoming signal was unlike anything he had seen before, strong, clear, and definitely not natural. "This can't be right," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. The signal was coming from the edge of the solar system, somewhere in the Kuiper belt. Its pattern was too regular, too structured to be random space noise. Within minutes, he had alerted his supervisor and triggered the station's emergency protocol. Hours later, the small monitoring station had transformed into a hub of activity. The room was now filled with NASA's top scientists and communications experts, all gathered around various screens and equipment. The air buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. "The signal repeats every 12 minutes," explained Dr. Robert Hayes, the lead communications expert. He pointed to a complex pattern on his screen. "And look at this. It's being broadcast on multiple frequencies. Whatever's sending this wants to make absolutely sure we receive it." The team worked tirelessly through the night, recording and analyzing every detail of the mysterious transmission. As dawn broke over the horizon, they'd made their first breakthrough. "It's a language," shouted Mary Parker, a young linguist who had been called in to help. "The pattern. It's mathematical at first, but it transitions into what appears to be a form of communication. They're establishing basic counting and mathematical principles before moving into more complex messages." The next few days were a blur of activity. The best minds from around the world joined the effort, working together to decode the alien message. The initial mathematical sequence helped them establish a common foundation for understanding the alien language. Finally, after a week of non-stop work, they had their answer. The message was clear, and its contents were startling. "This is the Meridian Fleet calling any civilization capable of receiving this message," read the translated first line. "We are stranded. Our fleet of 300 ships has encountered an unknown energy field that has disabled our primary propulsion systems. We require immediate assistance." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. 300 alien ships stranded at the edge of our solar system. The message continued with technical details about their situation. Their backup systems were failing, and their resources were limited. They needed help, and they needed it soon. What surprised everyone most was the next part of the message. The aliens had detected Earth's technological signals, but had dismissed humans as too primitive to help. Now, desperate, and with no other options in range, they were reaching out to Earth as their last hope. "We must inform the world governments immediately," said Dr. Hayes, looking at the gathered team. "This isn't just a scientific discovery anymore. This is a rescue mission." Within hours, the news spread through secure channels to every major government on Earth. Emergency meetings were called, and plans began to form. Humanity had just been thrust onto the galactic stage, and their first challenge would be to save a civilization that had considered them primitive. Tom sat back in his chair, still at his station where it had all begun. He looked at his now cold cup of coffee and smiled. Not bad for a primitive species, he mumbled to himself, watching as more officials and experts poured into the station. The coffee machine in the corner continued its quiet brewing, providing fuel for the long days ahead. Earth's greatest challenge and opportunity had just begun. A fleet of advanced aliens needed saving, and they would soon learn that sometimes the simplest solutions came from the most unexpected places. Little did the Meridians know, their distress call would not only save their fleet, but also change their understanding of what it meant to be an advanced civilization. The control room buzzed with activity as Earth prepared to send its first response to the stranded alien fleet. The message had been carefully crafted over 3 days, with experts from every field contributing to its contents. Now, it was time to make history. Dr. Hayes stood before the main communications array, his hand hovering over the transmission button. Representatives from 20 nations watched through video screens mounted on the wall. The room fell silent as he pressed the button. "Message sent," he announced. "Now we wait." The reply came faster than anyone expected. The large screen at the front of the room lit up with the alien response. As the translation software processed their words, the humans in the room leaned forward in anticipation. "You cannot be serious," read the first line of the alien message. "Your civilization still uses combustion engines for space travel. How could you possibly assist us?" The room erupted in murmurs. The aliens' tone was clear. They were disappointed, perhaps even angry, that such a primitive species had answered their call. But humanity wasn't finished. Tom Wilson, who had first detected their signal, spoke up from his station. "Tell them about Anna," he suggested. "Let them see what our engineers can do." Anna Thompson was called in from NASA's Propulsion Research Division. She was known for solving impossible problems with surprisingly simple solutions. As she studied the technical data the aliens had shared about their situation, a smile spread across her face. "They're overthinking it," she said, pointing to their specifications. "Their ships are designed for deep space travel using advanced quantum drives. But right now, they just need to move. We can do that." The next transmission to the aliens was different. Instead of diplomatic words, they sent mathematical calculations. Anna had worked out how a series of chemical rockets, arranged in a specific pattern, could generate enough thrust to move even the largest alien ships. The aliens' response was quick and dismissive. Primitive chemical propulsion. The fuel requirements would be enormous. This is not viable. Anna didn't back down. She requested permission to demonstrate her solution on one of their smaller scout ships. The aliens agreed, though their message carried a clear tone of doubt. Over the next few hours, Anna presented her full plan to both human and alien observers. She explained how humans had mastered the art of getting the most power from the simplest technology. Her presentation included videos of space launches, showing how even massive structures could be moved with careful planning. Sometimes, she explained through the translator, "The old ways work best. Your advanced drives failed because they were too complex. Our chemical rockets are simple, tested, and reliable." The alien commander, who identified himself as the first navigator, finally appeared on their screens. He was tall, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in his ship's lighting. His expression, though alien, showed clear skepticism. "Your species has not even reached your own system's outer planets," he stated. "Yet you believe you can move our entire fleet." "We haven't reached the outer planets," Anna agreed, "but we've sent probes there. We've landed robots on Mars, put telescopes in deep space, and kept humans alive in orbit for years. We did all this with the technology you call primitive." The first navigator was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke again. "Your confidence is interesting. We will allow a test of your solution on one of our scout vessels. But be warned, if you damage our ship, there will be consequences." The room celebrated this small victory. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a chance to prove what humans could do. As the team began preparing for the test mission, Anna turned to Dr. Hayes with a determined look. "Those aliens think we're primitive because we haven't developed quantum drives," she said, gathering her calculations. "But they're about to learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to solve problems with whatever tools we have." The next few days would be crucial. Earth had one chance to prove itself to an advanced alien civilization. The world watched and waited, hoping that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. And in the depths of space, 300 alien ships waited too, their fate now resting in the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive just days before. The large hangar at NASA's newest facility was filled with a mix of anticipation and tension. Engineers worked around the clock, assembling what looked like a massive collection of ordinary rockets. Anna Thompson stood in front of a holographic display, showing their design to the first navigator. "This is what we call a modular booster system," she explained, pointing to the diagram. "Think of it like building blocks. Each rocket is simple on its own, but together they become something powerful." The first navigator's image flickered slightly as he studied the design. His silver skin reflected the light from his ship's interior, and his expression remained doubtful. "These chemical reactions you propose to use, they seem crude." Anna smiled. "Sometimes crude is reliable. Let me show you something." She gestured to a nearby technician, who wheeled in what looked like an old rocket engine. It was scratched, worn, and clearly well used. "This engine," Anna said, patting its metal surface, "has been started and stopped over 100 times in testing. It's based on technology we've used for over 60 years. We understand every bolt, every weld, every possible way it could fail, and how to fix it." The first navigator leaned closer to his camera. "But our ships mass thousands of tons more than anything you've ever moved." "True," Anna admitted. "But that's where human creativity comes in. We've designed a new staging system. Instead of trying to move your ships all at once, we'll use multiple small pushes, like," she thought for a moment, "like pushing a heavy box across a floor. You don't lift it. You slide it bit by bit." The alien commander watched as Anna brought up another simulation. It showed how the rockets would attach to their ships in groups, fire in carefully timed sequences, and then detach when empty. New rockets would take their place, maintaining steady momentum. "Your species still uses combustion engines in your ground vehicles," the first navigator noted. "We abandoned such technology centuries ago." "And that's exactly why we're perfect for this job," Anna replied. "We're experts at making the most of what others might consider outdated technology. While your civilization was perfecting quantum drives, we were perfecting chemical rockets. We had to. It was all we had." The next few hours were spent going through technical details. The first navigator's doubt slowly began to shift to curiosity as Anna explained each part of their plan. She showed how they had already solved similar problems on a smaller scale, moving space stations and large satellites. "Look at this," she said, pulling up footage of a recent rocket launch. "This is how we resupply our space station. Notice how precise the burn timing is. We can adjust thrust down to the second." Now imagine this same precision, but with multiple rockets working together. The alien commander was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his tone had changed. "Your solution is not what we expected. It lacks the elegance of our technology, but—" He paused, searching for the right words. "There is a different kind of elegance to it, a practical elegance." Anna beamed. "That's exactly it. Sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most advanced one. It's the one that works." As their meeting concluded, the first navigator made an unexpected request. He asked for historical records of human spaceflight. "Perhaps," he said, "we have something to learn from your species' journey through the stars." Later that evening, as the engineering team prepared for the next day's test, Anna found Tom Wilson looking at the old rocket engine she had shown the aliens. "You know what's funny?" Tom said, running his hand along the engine's surface. "They traveled across galaxies with their quantum drives, but now they need good old-fashioned rocket fuel to save them." Anna nodded. "That's the thing about technology. Newer isn't always better. Sometimes you need to remember the old ways." She looked up at the massive rockets being assembled nearby. "And tomorrow, we're going to show them just how far these old ways can take us." The night shift began their work, preparing for the test that would either prove humanity's worth to an advanced alien civilization or confirm their status as a primitive species. The sound of welding and the clang of tools filled the hangar, a symphony of human determination and ingenuity. In space, the stranded alien fleet waited, their fate now resting on technology they had long ago dismissed as obsolete. The International Space Center's main conference room was packed with representatives from 30 countries. Large screens covered the walls, showing diagrams, calculations, and a live feed of the stranded alien fleet. Anna Thompson stood at the center of it all, presenting humanity's ambitious rescue plan. "We need to build 400 rocket boosters in 2 months," she announced, pointing to the production schedule. "It's not impossible, but we'll need everyone's help." The room erupted in discussion. Building so many rockets in such a short time had never been done before. But as the initial shock wore off, something remarkable happened. Instead of arguing about why it couldn't be done, the representatives began offering solutions. "India's rocket factories can run around the clock," one official announced. "We'll handle 20% of the production. Japan can modify our satellite launchers for this purpose," another added. "We can start immediately." Country after country stepped forward, offering resources, facilities, and expertise. Even nations without space programs volunteered their manufacturing capabilities and raw materials. The first navigator watched all this through the main screen, his silver features showing what seemed to be surprise. "Your species has many separate nations," he observed, "yet you work together now as one." "That's humanity for you," Tom Wilson replied from his seat near the back. "Nothing unites us quite like a challenge everyone says is impossible." The next few hours were spent breaking down the rescue operation into phases. Anna's team had created detailed plans for every step, leaving nothing to chance. "Phase 1, she explained, pointing to a simulation. "We'll attach 30 boosters to a scout ship for our test run. If successful, we move to Phase 2, rescuing the damaged ships first. Phase 3 will be the main fleet, and Phase 4 is the cleanup." The first navigator studied the plans carefully. "Your calculations show a 92% chance of success," he noted. "What about the other 8%? Anna smiled. "That's where human adaptability comes in. We've planned for every problem we can think of, and we're ready to solve the ones we haven't thought of yet. It's what we do best." The alien commander was quiet for a moment. "In all our travels," he finally said, "we've never encountered a species quite like yours. You lack our technology, yet you attack problems with remarkable determination." As the meeting continued, teams around the world sprang into action. Factories switched their production lines to rocket parts. Space agencies began preparing launch sites. Scientists and engineers worked on solving specific challenges that would come up during the rescue. One young engineer discovered a way to use Earth's gravity to help slingshot the alien ships, reducing the fuel needed by 20%. Another team developed a new quick-release system for detaching empty boosters. Every hour brought new innovations. "Look at this," Anna said to Dr. Hayes, showing him the latest progress report. "We've already solved problems we didn't even know we had yesterday." This is humanity at its finest. The first navigator had requested regular updates on their progress. Each report seemed to increase his interest in human methods. He particularly noted how humans used simple tools in creative ways to solve complex problems. "Your species," he commented during one update, "reminds me of ancient stories from our own history. Before we had advanced technology, we too had to rely on ingenuity. Perhaps we have forgotten something important in our progress." As the first week of preparation ended, the initial results were promising. 5 countries had already completed their first test boosters. The mounting system for attaching rockets to alien ships had been successfully tested on Earth. Launch sites around the world were being modified for the upcoming mission. 2 months, Anna said, looking at the prototype booster being assembled in the hangar. 2 months to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. The world watched and worked, united in a way it had never been before. In space, the alien fleet waited, their view of humanity changing with each progress report they received. What had started as a desperate call for help was becoming something more. A lesson in never underestimating a species just because their technology seemed primitive. Tomorrow, the first test launches would begin. Everything humanity had learned about spaceflight over the past 60 years would be put to the test. The world held its breath, hoping that sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. Launch control was silent as the final countdown began. On the main screen, a small alien scout ship floated in space, surrounded by 30 human-made rocket boosters. Each booster had been carefully attached according to Anna's design, making the alien vessel look like a silver fish with mechanical fins. All systems check complete, Tom announced from his station. Rocket array is ready for firing sequence. Anna stood behind the main control panel, her hand steady as she prepared to direct humanity's first attempt at moving an alien ship. The first navigator watched from a separate screen, his silvery features unreadable. Beginning firing sequence in 10, 9, 8. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Years of spaceflight experience had taught them that anything could go wrong in these first crucial moments. 7, 6, 5. On screens around the world, billions watched. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was humanity's debut on the galactic stage. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. The boosters came to life in a carefully orchestrated sequence. First the outer ring, then the middle layer, and finally the core boosters. Each one fired exactly as planned, their combined thrust beginning to push against the massive alien vessel. Initial thrust reading at 92% of expected output, called out Dr. Hayes. Ship is responding. The scout ship began to move, slowly at first, then with gathering speed. The rockets worked together like a perfectly conducted orchestra, each one playing its part in the complex maneuver. Then the first problem hit. Warning: Booster Cluster 7 is showing irregular pressure. A red light flashed on the control panel. If the cluster failed, it could send the ship into a spin. But Anna was ready. Activate Compensation Protocol Alpha, she ordered calmly. Adjust thrust on clusters 6 and 8. The surrounding rockets automatically adjusted their output, compensating for the failing cluster. What could have been a disaster became barely a hiccup in the operation. The first navigator leaned forward in his view screen. Impressive adaptation, he noted. Your control systems are more sophisticated than expected. Simple doesn't mean primitive, Anna replied, her eyes never leaving the displays. We've learned to build redundancy into everything. In space, you always need a backup plan. The next hour was a careful dance of thrust and adjustment. The human team guided the alien ship through a series of maneuvers, testing the limits of their hybrid system. When space debris appeared in their path, they demonstrated how quickly the rockets could adjust course. Beginning final approach to target coordinates, Tom announced. The scout ship was nearly at its destination, where its own systems could be safely reactivated. That's when the second challenge appeared. A small meteoroid shower, undetected until now, lay directly in their path. In the past, the alien ships would have easily avoided it using their advanced drives. But now, working with chemical rockets, they had to think differently. We can't go around it in time, Dr. Hayes warned. Not with our current velocity. Anna's mind raced. Then she smiled. We don't go around. We go through. She quickly explained her plan. Instead of avoiding the meteoroids, they would use the rocket boosters as shields, sacrificing the empty ones to protect the ship. The first navigator's eyes widened. You would deliberately destroy your rockets. The empty ones. Yes, sometimes you have to sacrifice a pawn to save the queen. The maneuver worked perfectly. The team ejected the spent boosters in a precise pattern, creating a protective screen ahead of the ship. Small rocks bounced off the discarded rockets while the alien vessel passed safely through. Finally, after 2 hours of careful maneuvering, the scout ship reached its designated position. Test flight complete, Anna announced. All primary mission objectives achieved. The room erupted in cheers. On screens across Earth, people celebrated humanity's first successful manipulation of alien technology. But the most significant reaction came from the first navigator. "We were wrong," he said, his voice carrying a new tone of respect. "Your methods are different from ours, but they are far from primitive. Perhaps," he paused thoughtfully, "perhaps there is more than one path to the stars." In that moment, humanity proved that sometimes the simplest solutions required the most ingenious thinking. The test flight was just the beginning. Now they had to rescue an entire fleet. But they had shown it could be done, not with advanced quantum drives or alien technology, but with good old-fashioned human resourcefulness. The success of the test flight marked the beginning of humanity's largest space operation ever attempted. Launch sites around the world worked non-stop, sending rockets into orbit. The night sky was filled with the constant glow of launches, like artificial shooting stars giving hope to the stranded alien fleet. Fleet rescue operations beginning in 5 minutes, Anna announced from the newly built Global Command Center. Around her, screens showed the status of 300 alien ships and the thousands of human rockets positioned to save them. The first navigator's image appeared on the main screen. His silver features now showed something new: trust. "We are ready to proceed according to your plan," he said. "Our ship's emergency systems are configured as requested." Tom checked the final readings from his station. Weather conditions optimal at all launch sites. Recovery ships are in position. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Anna took a deep breath and pressed the master control. Beginning Operation Lifeline. The rescue started with the most damaged ships first. Teams of rockets attached to their hulls, working in perfect coordination. Across Earth, control centers monitored each group of rockets, making constant adjustments to keep everything running smoothly. "First wave of ships moving," Dr. Hayes reported. "Thrust patterns holding steady." But space had other plans. A sudden solar flare erupted, sending waves of radiation toward the rescue fleet. On Earth, scientists watched in horror as their carefully planned operation faced its first major challenge. "Radiation will hit in 40 seconds. Someone shouted. "It could interfere with our guidance systems." Anna's mind raced. They couldn't stop the operation. Too many ships were already in motion. Then she remembered something from her early days of rocket design. "Switch all rockets to analog backup systems," she ordered. "Just like the old Mercury missions. Sometimes older is better." The order went out. Around the world, control teams switched their rockets to simpler, radiation-resistant backup systems. When the solar flare hit, the rockets kept pushing, guided by technology that humans had perfected decades ago. The first navigator watched in amazement. "Your backup systems, they're completely mechanical." "Sometimes the simplest solution is the most reliable," Anna replied, monitoring the rescue's progress. "We learned that lesson the hard way over the years." Hour after hour, the operation continued. Ships that had been stranded for weeks began moving toward safety. Each successful movement gave the rescue teams more confidence. Human ingenuity was proving itself on a galactic scale. But the greatest challenge was yet to come. Near the center of the alien fleet, a group of ships had become tangled together when their engines failed. Moving them would require perfect coordination between hundreds of rockets. "This is the tricky part," Anna explained to the global team. "We'll need to move them as one unit, like lifting a house of cards without letting it fall." The operation to move the tangled ships became a masterclass in human precision and teamwork. Rockets fired in sequences so complex that computers had taken days to calculate them. When one rocket showed signs of failure, a backup was immediately moved into position. "Look at that coordination," the first navigator commented, watching the delicate operation. "It's like, what do you humans call it? A dance." "More like a ballet," Tom replied, smiling. "A ballet with rockets." The hours turned into days. Sleep-deprived teams worked in shifts, guiding ship after ship to safety. When rockets ran low on fuel, they were quickly replaced by fresh ones launched from Earth. The whole world worked as one, focused on a single goal. Finally, after 4 days of continuous operations, Anna received the report she had been waiting for. Last ship successfully moved to safe coordinates. Dr. Hayes announced. All 300 vessels are clear of the energy field. The Global Command Center erupted in celebration. On screens worldwide, people cheered and hugged each other. Humanity had done the impossible. The first navigator's final transmission of the day carried a message that would be remembered for generations. Your species has taught us a valuable lesson. True advancement isn't just about having the newest technology. It's about having the wisdom to use what you have in extraordinary ways. As the celebration continued, Anna looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, 300 alien ships were safe because humanity had remembered that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology. It was about having the courage and creativity to solve problems, no matter how impossible they seemed. The grand rescue was complete, but its impact on human history was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the successful rescue of the Meridian Fleet. The Global Command Center, once buzzing with emergency activity, now served as humanity's first official galactic communications hub. Anna Thompson stood before its main screen, looking at a sight few humans had ever imagined possible. Representatives from 12 different alien civilizations filled the various screens, all gathered for a historic announcement. The first navigator stood at the center, his silver skin gleaming under the lights of his ship's grand chamber. Based on the extraordinary demonstration of capability, resourcefulness, and cooperation shown by the human species, he announced, the Galactic Council has unanimously voted to classify Earth as an advanced problem-solving civilization. The room erupted in applause. This wasn't just a title. It meant Earth would now have access to alien scientific knowledge and trade routes. But more importantly, it meant humanity had earned its place among the stars. We had it wrong, the first navigator continued, his voice carrying genuine warmth. We measured advancement by the complexity of technology. You showed us that true advancement lies in how creatively you use what you have. Tom Wilson, still at his faithful monitoring station, smiled as he remembered that first signal he'd detected months ago. Who would have thought, he whispered to Dr. Hayes, that our primitive rockets would end up saving an advanced alien fleet? The Alien Council had brought gifts, technological improvements that would help Earth advance. But surprisingly, they also wanted something in return, Earth's old technology manuals and engineering texts. Your approaches to problem-solving are unique, explained one alien representative, their holographic form shimmering. Many civilizations have forgotten the fundamental principles you still practice. We believe there is much to learn from your journey. Anna was appointed as Earth's first ambassador of innovation to the galactic community. Her first task would be to establish a unique engineering school where humans would teach other species about creative problem-solving and the value of simple, reliable solutions. The rescue changed more than just Earth, she explained to a group of young engineers. It changed how the galaxy thinks about advancement. Sometimes taking a step back lets you see solutions you missed by always looking forward. The story of the rescue spread through the galaxy, growing with each telling. Alien ships began making regular stops at Earth, not just for trade, but to learn. They were particularly interested in how humans had managed to achieve so much with relatively simple technology. In orbit above Earth, construction began on a new facility, the Galactic Institute of Practical Innovation. It would be a place where species from across the galaxy could learn humanity's approach to problem-solving. The building itself was a testament to this philosophy, combining simple human construction methods with advanced alien materials. One day, as Anna was showing a group of alien students through the institute, an interesting question came up. Why did your species keep improving chemical rockets instead of waiting to discover quantum drive technology? A young alien asked. Anna smiled, remembering the rescue mission. Because we didn't know quantum drives were possible, she explained. So instead of waiting for something better to come along, we kept perfecting what we had. Sometimes not knowing something is impossible is the best way to make it possible. The first navigator, who had become a close friend to humanity, put it best during the Institute's opening ceremony. Humans taught us that advancement isn't a straight line. Each civilization's path to the stars is unique, and each has something valuable to teach others. Back at the old deep space monitoring station, Tom kept his regular night shift. But now, instead of listening for unknown signals, he helped coordinate communication with ships from across the galaxy. The coffee machine still hummed in the corner, a humble reminder of how it all began. "You know what's funny?" he said to Anna during one of her visits. "They came here thinking we were primitive, but left realizing that primitive is just another word for not done innovating yet." As Earth entered its new era as a respected member of the galactic community, one thing became clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in having the most advanced technology, but in never stopping to think that something was impossible just because they didn't have it. The rescue of the Meridian fleet wasn't just a story of saving stranded ships. It was the story of how humanity proved that the path to the stars wasn't about waiting for perfect technology, but about perfectly using the technology you had.